we played the asset management game that I just showed you with people from the Sellafield organization, Sellafield Asset Management, and they were in the beginning very skeptical, but after having played that game they were very enthusiastic about playing an asset management game to get introduced to the subject. So what then happened was that we co-created a new game, and this is what we called Synergy Sellafield. This is the Oxant version of that game, which I call Synergy Decom for decommissioning. Comparable to the game that I showed previously is the fact that a team owns properties, but as you also can see, the board still consists of different game boards, but now those different game boards represent different departments. So for example, we now take a look at the decommissioning department, and the decommissioning department has two properties to be decommissioned. So what they have to do in this game is to get rid of those white cubes, transport them to a temporary storage, and afterwards, through a property that they don't have at the moment, get it out of the game. In the game that I showed previously, the condition of the assets had a consequence for its value. In this game it's about the productivity of assets in a certain condition. In this game it's the worst black cube in the worst condition which decides about the productivity of the particular property. So at this moment the productivity of this decommissioning site number 1 is only 1, because the worst black cubes are in the yellow condition, and it's stated that it is has a 1 production. If it is improved like this, productivity gets higher, and like this there can be the removal of white cubes can be quicker. The concept of maintenance costs and renewal costs still exists, but the amounts are different, and of course also the budgets are different. So in this particular situation, it's a question for the decommissioning department where to invest those 3.5 million in such a way that productivity gets the highest as possible. In this game, cooperation also is important. So production only can take place if there's also enough water and electricity available, and water and electricity has to be provided by the utilities department. So in fact the game is the same for this department, but as you can see the productivity numbers are different, and also the production made with, for example, the power plant is not the removal of cubes, but it's adding power to the power supply. At the end of the turn, the utilities department decides where the electricity they generated should go to which department, and the same goes for the water. Decommissioning department also has to rely on another department, which is the projects department. And the projects department can build new properties for Sellafield. This is important because, as we have seen, at decommissioning a property is needed which is not yet existing. At the moment this is built by the projects department in their project site number 2, and again we see project productivity numbers. There's also on each property a right column, and this tells us how many risks happen depending on the condition of the worst asset. So for example, In this case there won't be any risk, because the worst conditioned asset is in the light green. It still has 0 risk. As soon as it degenerates, it comes with 1 risk, and then the risks have to be picked, and based on the throw of dice we know how much damage this brings. Synergy is very much about cooperation between departments. In the beginning of the game, every department has its own budget and has to make its own optimization of investment and maintenance and renewal. After 5 turns, they stop getting departmental budgets and they get a corporate budget, and they have to agree together where it should be put. In the end, the aim of this game is to get rid of all the white cubes from the decommissioning department. So they all have to go through the temporary storage and then out of the game. And the same goes for the operations department, which I didn't discuss, but in fact has the same mechanism as the decommissioning department. Synergy, as said, is growing quickly. Unsiloing the organization is a very common theme at our client side. So I just give you now a short glance of one of the game boards of the Mega Synergy game, which can be played with around 60 to 80 people. In this game there are 3 game boards consisting of 4 departments, so in fact it's 12 departments who will have to work together in a proper way. Here we see the energy domain, where sustainable energy is made, where conventional energy is made with conventional power plants, and where also is a distribution towards industry and towards oil and gas. Those are the 2 other different game boards which I didn't set up yet. So in this game the energy department has to rely on the oil and gas game board to get enough fuel for their plants, and then they distribute back electricity for oil and gas, and also, as said, for the other game board, industry. I think it's also a nice opportunity to show how quickly you can adapt themes to a particular environment. This is a very generic theme, which also gives us the opportunity, for example, to even add cinemas, theme parks, media centers, and even the Eiffel Tower. Interesting from the French roots of our company, of course, to be part of the game. So just as an example how synergy can be tailored to a totally different context, but in fact still based on the same principle, having to work together to deliver a corporate, and in this game even a national objective to obtain together, and which in this game is as much as possible happy people, which can be generated through different functions in the game.